He's very much got the, like, I have to find who murdered my parents vibe.
Sure. Where are they?
Right.
I have to find the avatar.
Hello, and welcome to the Tabletop Travel Guide, the podcast where we explore fictional worlds and civilizations right from the comfort of our own table. I'm Sam, and my notes say that I did something amazing this week, but I don't know that that's an accurate description of what I did. I think that this week in roleplay, I got to play around more with my new character, who is a sprite sorcerer, and I'm just really obsessed with this tiny little sprite, like, popping around and then blasting people. I got to do elemental toss is something that, like, I have in that build, and so she's a little butterfly sprite, and her element is wind, so I just had a really fun time doing elemental toss with wind, and this huge blast of wind just, like, I think I took the dude out, because I think I had the last chunk of damage, so I crit, and then I just, little butterfly, flap, flap, boom! It was excellent.
Nice.
Just try not to hit the...
I know, I got excited, Tyler! Sorry!
You should have left that in.
I should have. It's fine. I mean,
Sit on my hands.
I'll probably leave it in. And I'm Tyler, and this week in that same campaign, as we are both, Sam built a new character for this campaign and kind of retired her old one because she got bored of it.
We needed another spellcaster, and I was tired of being Mr. Punchy.
Yes.
That's fair.
Yes, we lost one of the spellcasters who was playing, kind of dropped off after she got pregnant. So
That is reasonable.
Yep. So she's just kind of like, hey, I'm taking a step away, and so we're like, we need a new spellcaster. So between that, and that's the same campaign that I killed the guy, so he's playing a new character, so it's been really cool to kind of, they're now in the group chat being like, okay, who's got what skills, where do we kind of fill each other in,
The
like,
synergies.
they're all strategizing now, which is, it's always really cool to see, since when all these players started, obviously, except for Sam, they were all new to Pathfinder, so it's really cool to see the players go from what am I doing as a character to like what are we doing as a party. I think it's like it's always good to see like the next steps in player evolution when it comes to doing that.
Nice. Well, I'm Ryan. I did not have a chance to play any Paizo products this past couple weeks, so instead I played a little bit of Space Station Zero, which is a solo and co-op little RPG tabletop game. And I went 5 missions, fell into a weapons armory, and my entire total party died. So I lost.
Oh.
And sometimes that happens in solo, and it's kind of fun. They went out fighting.
Cool. They died.
They all died.
We should have made Ryan go first, so we didn't end on a downer.
Wah, wah.
Wah, wah. Anyway, so before we get into the episode for today, just a reminder, you can support us on Patreon. There is a link in our show notes and also a page on our website, or you can search us at Tabletop Travel Guide Podcast on Patreon.
Yep, we've been doing some cutting room floor stuff, so some stuff that didn't make it into our Numeria episode got posted there. Having some good conversation before we recorded this episode, so
that may or may not be relevant to Pathfinder at all. Who knows?
Who knows? A little bit of here, a little bit of there. Good stuff.
And then finally, things we misspoke. Not a huge one from Numeria, but just a point of clarification. Numerian fluids is what Kavath Cool got addicted to. So if you're citing that in your research papers on Numeria, make sure you say it correctly.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's even in Pathfinder 2 as a item yet, but yeah, that's what it was called in Pathfinder 1.
Gotta get the fluids right.
Gotta get those fluids. Your coolant.
And on that note, we are going to kick it over to Ryan, who will be leading us through fun and exciking territories today.
Fun and exciting is a word for these territories. All right, so for this episode, we're talking about a couple different places. So primarily, I use the world guides for 1E and 2E. And then the Price of Immortality module for Razmiran the Kingmaker Adventure Path stuff for Brevoy, and then I kind of had to fill in a couple gaps with some minor things.
Yeah.
So I used the Pathfinder wiki for some stuff. But
so what are we talking about today?
we are talking about Brevoy and Razmiran.
Razmiran. You get all the episodes where there's not enough content for one.
Yeah, it's kind of like a weird. We'll get into it, but they're both kind of like weird places. So we're gonna go and roll with it.
I'm excited. One of these I know a little bit about, and one of these I know 0 things about.
Yeah. In my mind, I kept thinking of this as the Tale of Two Tyrants. But
Ryan,
I think I already made that joke, so I think I used a Tale of Two for
this
the
is
previous
This is a
two-part
Tale of
episode.
Two, the sequel for Ryan. He's back with another Tale of Two episode.
It
Another
was
Tale of
the
Two.
best of times. It was the worst of
It's
times.
kind of the worst of times for both.
It was the worst of
Always the worst of times.
Are you doing bad cop, worst cop?
Kind of. Before I try to jump back and forth, there's like no narrative connection for these ones. So we're gonna do one and then we're gonna do the other.
That's fair.
So we're gonna talk about Brevoy first.
Okay.
Brevoy is in the northeast area of the Broken Lands.
It's basically like the edge of the inner sea region.
Yes, we are way over in the edge. To talk about this one, there's honestly not a lot about Brevoy, period. It's almost more interesting to talk about how Brevoy happened.
Oh, I like that.
So we'll go backwards a little bit into not Brevoy history and start there. 700-ish AR.
Okay.
So we're kind of a ways back. Elfin explorers go east into the continent of Casmaron.
Oh, the Olphins.
Yeah.
The Elfin are here. And
Nice.
we're in an
Cool.
entirely different continent. We're going into Casmaron, which is basically Asia to Avistan's Europe.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's a big, giant landmass. Paizo has not really put a ton of detail into like specific nations of Casmaron. We'll
Yeah.
get there.
So it's kind of like the non-East Asian Asia.
Yeah.
Yet. Because since if Tian Sha is East Asia, it's kind of the like in-between stage,
Yeah.
maybe.
Well, there's a lot of countries in between
Europe.
and
there's
China.
a lot of countries
like,
in
there's,
Asia.
There's
that
a
are,
lot of things in that, like, so they keep
Yeah.
taking a lot of different like cultural influence. To
It's
build
kind
that.
of interesting. Like, I think of this as like a lot of like Russia, but we already kind of did Russia as Irison. So
but that was real Russia.
Yes, this is kind of like Eastern Europe is kind of the
Okay.
vibe I get
Yeah.
of like
Okay.
Ukraine, Poland, like
Okay.
those other kind of Eastern European nations, maybe down through some of the Baltic states.
Okay.
That's kind of the vibe I get.
Fair.
But anyway, the Ulfin go east. They establish a few different cities. And then, of course, we have the traditional Ulfin cities fighting cities thing happening for a while.
Heck yeah.
It's kind of just prehistory. In 905 AR, Iobar the Potent
Ooh,
in the
that's a
city of
name.
Orlov establishes the Iobian Empire. So he names it after himself. And he says, "This is the Iobian Empire. I am its master." And he successfully conquers a whole bunch of cities around him.
But did he kill a Lenorm to call himself ruler?
He
Can
did
we
not.
just talk about how he named himself the Potent? Like, what kind of
Ladies. He does the like, hello, I am
Have you seen
Iobar.
the size of my empire?
Iobar, the potent. Wink.
like what kind of a name is this?
This is his brother was Jobar the fertile.
Jobar and Iobar. Well, Sam, Iobar's empire is going to get its just desserts.
Okay.
Because he's dead at this point. But in 1106 AR, the Tear Plague ravages the Iobian Empire.
Oh.
Local Iobians blame it on the local Cyclopsian ruins and on foreigners.
well,
Aw.
sure.
Fair.
So this will start a chain of lots of plagues. I don't know what it was about the Iobian Empire.
He was,
Boy, oh boy, did they experience a lot of plagues.
look, he
The secret to the potency is that it's actually just about plagues.
they're like, you toyed with fate by naming yourself potent. We're gonna make it really bad.
Yes.
Potent potables.
Potent potables.
Potent potables. So this just keeps happening. There's like a series of plagues every so often in the Iobian Empire.
jeez.
They even figure out one in 1634, so that is a 500-year span of plagues,
Oh.
called the Char Death.
Oh.
So that happens in 1634. By 1869, So another couple hundred years later, they figure out there is a necromancer named Itoyob the Undying.
Otib?
Otib the Undying, who's been casting a bunch of plagues.
What? So the entire... just...
Okay, so here's what I would like to imagine this story actually was, even though there is no context for it. So this is completely made up from this point.
Sam's headcanon.
Headcanon.
Yes, my headcanon is that Otib really was in love with someone that Iobar then slept with, and he was like, look, sir, you and all of your potency are gonna go down. And then he has been spending the last far too many years just plaguing everyone. Like, he stole my girl, plague. He stole my girl, plague.
I like that story.
That story checks out. We'll go with that.
That's the tabletop travel guide canon of what happened in the Iobar and
yeah,
Empire.
so I couldn't even figure out if they like killed this necromancer or if he got away, but it keeps happening.
Wait, what?
So like there are more plagues even after they figure out that this necromancer was responsible for one of them.
He's like, you will feel my legacy forever.
And to talk about how bad this is, the Chardeath alone, just that one plague kills a third of the population.
What?
Oh.
Oh gosh.
So you're talking about wave after wave after wave of multi-digit percentages of death.
Man.
It's bad.
Okay, so that was 1869. In 2742,
Holy crap.
the choking death killed 3/4 of whoever else is left.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
So basically the cities are abandoned. What little infrastructure that can be controlled is kind of abandoned. And the Iobian Empire falls apart. There's like not a structure left.
The Iobian commune at this point.
Yeah, it just all falls apart.
Oof.
So we yada 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 our way for another 500 years, and in 3212, 3 different warlords tried to reunite Iobaria under the banner of New Iobaria.
We're still sticking with that name?
We
Okay.
like the name, so they established New Iobaria and then immediately declare a civil war on each other.
Oh, well.
Because they're like, we did it. We established a new country. I want it.
I just imagine they're in the middle of their empire. They have their table. They're like, we did it. And then immediately they kind of like look at each other, look left, look right, and then like Mexican standoff.
Spider-Man meme.
Spider-Man meme start pointing.
Yeah.
They should have cut it into 3, and then we could have had the nations of Eo, Bar,
and
Ea.
And potent.
Potent.
This
man's getting a lot of mileage for being like a footnote in these notes. Okay.
He knew that he would be potent
Spoken
throughout
about.
history.
Oh, man. There's like some words about the Civil War involving dragons. So
What?
like there's different dragon factions trying to take over different areas. So they eventually like grant control of the ruins of old Iobaria to the dragons if the dragons leave the cities alone, which is like an interesting deal. But then there's this thing called the Drake Plague
Oh,
that
no.
kills 60% of dragons.
Jeez.
So I just imagine in my head the entire thing that's happening in Casmaron is like you know those when there's like a show and there's plot happening in the front and there's like a B plot happening in the background that just kind of keeps going. There's like the Community episode where you have like Abed like
Giving birth.
yes. Or like helping somebody give birth in the background, and like there's a whole B plot that they never actually talk about but it's happening in the background. That's what I imagine. Like Inner Sea region is happening and then like in the background Casmaron it's just like
Plague,
dragon, rising
plague.
up, necromancer, all this stuff, and you just like keep looking over and you're like, what is happening back there? Anyway, on to the A plot.
To the point where like when I'm reading this I'm like, did they just not want to write stuff for Casmaron? They're like, look, there's plagues, you don't want to go there, we're not going to write about there a ton, it's fine.
I mean, compared to Arcadia, which they're like, we haven't written anything about, like,
yeah,
I don't know.
So yeah, the Drake Plague hits, kills 60% of dragons in that area.
Cool.
This has impacts on the new Iobarian Empire, and they also like have issues. So they don't explicitly fall apart, but it's heavily implied that they're like barely a thing.
Oh my gosh. I just think Otib really was ahead of his time. He's just popping plagues everywhere. Like, he's like, plague in the water, plague over here. I wonder when they'll find this one. I buried it under a rock. Boom.
He's planting all these plagues.
The worst Easter egg hunt. Easter plague hunt.
Yeah, so that goes on until 4606. AR, friend of the pod, Aridin dies. The world wound opens. And hilariously, all these like migrants and like people flee the world wound. And they go east into New Iobaria, which has zero infrastructure to deal with any of these things, and the Empire formally collapses.
Oh boy. Woo.
And so that was Iobaria, fails. New Iobaria, fails.
Okay, so we have just, from 905 to 4606, the Empire that just couldn't.
Yeah. So with all of that happening east, this now has relevance to our story about Brevoy.
Okay.
So there are two precursor nations that build into Brevoy.
Okay.
We, of course, have our friends from Taldor who go exploring.
Nice.
And they explore all the way north up here, at least maybe not in a full expedition, but Taldan explorers get up here. The first one they find is a diseased old colony from the Iobarian Empire. The Taldor explorers look at this place with its sickly inhabitants, lack of local food production, and no sellable goods, and think, man, this place sucks. So they leave.
Oh, jeez.
When it's not even good enough for Taldor exploration.
Yeah. Hilariously, the fact that Taldor is not here makes it a great place where pirates and bandits think, wow, the law isn't here, so we're going to put down roots.
Oh, okay.
So what will soon become known as Isia becomes a land of pirates, bandits, and general lawlessness.
Okay.
That's our first precursor nation, Isia. That's pretty much all that's written about it.
All right.
So we have our second one, Rostland. Similar expeditions by Taldor. They kind of go around this area. They find it actually settleable. So the Taldane people settle down. They start talking with the Ulfin in the area. And they start establishing some civilization, some city-states. In 3035 AR, a man named Syrian First.
Not the first? Just
I'm going to
Syrian
check that real quick.
first?
So he just didn't want to do the...
Or was first his last name?
His full name is, well, it's not his first name. Baron Syrian First.
His first name is Baron?
No, he's Baron.
His
That's
title.
Can you imagine? It's like first name, Baron. Middle name, Siren. Last name, First.
What?
What? Siren First.
Syrian First. He's a Baron. He keeps losing duels in
Good.
Taldor.
If you're not first, you're last.
Jeez.
Yeah, he continually loses duels in Taldor. He's like, you know what? Screw this. If I'm gonna find a different place.
I'm gonna go make my own country.
I don't think he's a baron at this point. I think he's like a noble at this point. So he
A
goes.
noble who's bad at swordsmanship.
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
Hold on. So he goes north into the area that will eventually become Rostland. He finds a bandit lord, and he challenges this bandit lord to a duel,
Oh my god.
and immediately loses.
Ah! You think he would have, like, at this point, like, just gotten a coach? Like, could someone teach me to be better at duels?
Oh my gosh.
So he figures out that he's not going to win, right? He's like getting his butt kicked. So he like pays the bandit lord, like, look, you can have a bunch of money, please don't kill me. And the bandit lord accepts.
Sure.
So then he disappears. He disappears from the record for 9 years. In 3044 AR, Syrian Aldori arrives on the scene, calling himself the Sword Baron.
Oh, jeez.
He challenges this same bandit to another duel. He wins in literal seconds.
What?
Oh, so he did get a coach. He learned something.
Is it? Oh, okay. Keep going.
See, he wins in seconds. He then turns around and says, I offer 100,000 gold to any man, woman, or child who can defeat me in a duel. Hundreds challenge him to duels. They use trickery. They use magic. They use martial skill. No one can defeat Syrian Aldori.
Hmm.
Oh
So
my
he has
gosh.
become one of the greatest duelists of all time.
That was a great sword quest he went on in that
Whatever
9-year.
he did, it's not clear what he did, but he became real good at dueling.
Ate his Wheaties.
He ate his Wheaties, that's right. So he becomes like the functional leader of the area, like leadership by might.
Yeah.
He wins every duel. He establishes, so at first he's like, I'm the greatest duelist. No one can ever be as good as a duelist as me.
Yeah.
But then he goes, like, and people keep asking him, can I learn swordsmanship under you? And eventually he relents. And he establishes the Aldori Sword Pact. So he like forms a small group who he teaches all of his secret sword techniques to. And these become the Sword Lords. And they are like the precursors to all of the noble houses of Rostland, because they all kind of like are the best fighters in their areas, and they go back to their families and like.
Have we talked about the Sword Lords somewhere else? That sounds familiar.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
We've talked about all types of other lords.
Who knows?
So did we never find out what he did?
Nope.
Though you bring that up, so there's an archetype called the Aldori duelist.
Yep.
That's
what it is.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
So that's someone who's under the tutelage of Sirion Aldori.
God, that's so
in
okay.
his school.
So this just goes where I've seen Aldori Duelist a ton of times as I've looked through archetypes, and it just never, like, I never looked into it. But, like, knowing the, like, now history, I'm like, well, shoot, now I just want to play an Aldori Duelist.
Although, I'm still, like, not totally sold on Sirion, because he was like, I'm excellent. I can't accept that I'm a terrible duelist. And so then he loses everything and then actually becomes good, but then still seems very arrogant about it.
Extremely.
And I'm just, where is the humility, sir?
100,000 gold to any person who can defeat me. Yeah. Definitely still a bit of an arrogant person.
Yeah. That's wild. I love that.
So the Sword Lords become like the noble houses and the noble rulers of Rostland, because Sirion dies at some point. Yeah. He does not like disappear like many people in Pathfinder do. He disappears.
That seems reasonable.
The Sword Lords rule Rostland.
Okay.
So we have like a larger section called Rostland, ruled by the Sword Lords, and we have a smaller area called Isia, which is a pirate.
Okay, and this is all in what will become Brevoy.
Yes.
Okay.
So the real hero of our story, enters the scene. 44.99.
Otib the no, sorry.
He's back.
Otib the necromancer. Coral.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a CH hard CH or...
We'll go with Coral.
Coral
the Conqueror.
It's good at alliteration.
He calls himself the first king of Brevoy. He will become the first king of Brevoy, but at this point he's just a dude. He invades Isia.
Okay,
there's two stories. There's a real story of like the actual lore, and there's a story that they all tell themselves.
God, I love Brevoy so much with just like the stupid stories that come out of this.
So the real story is that he makes an amphibious crossing across the Lake of Mists and Veils from Iobaria into Isia. The leader, the current mayor, I think, of Isia, looks at this like massive army that shows up and is like, yeah, I surrender. I want no part of this.
Seems fair.
Pass.
Which is relevant. Then from Isia, Coral claims all of Rostland and sends out tax collectors.
That's a bold strategy.
It is like, excuse me, you live on my land. You need to pay me taxes. And all the Sword Lords are like, what are you talking about? So the Sword Lords get an army together and they send this army over towards Isia to deal with it. They walk into a box canyon.
Oh no.
And then it turns out Coral is big buddies with lots of red dragons.
What?
Oh.
They trap the Sword Lords in a box canyon and the dragons just incinerate the entire army in this box canyon.
Oh my gosh.
So that's the real story of what happens.
The real story seems pretty metal, so I'm interested in what the fake story is.
The fake story is pretty close. I think it's Isian. The fake story is that Isia fell second.
Oh.
So the fake story is that Isia sees all of Rostland get wiped by these red dragons, and only then do they surrender.
Oh, okay. They're like, we didn't just hand the land over immediately.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I love the story. It's the same exact story, just like, we didn't yet. What did you do? Don't worry about it.
It's like we saw all the dragons and they were like, whoa, we don't deal with dragons. And then we surrendered.
We very astutely determined the level of threat and then made a decision.
I just love the bait of the dragons, though. It's like the strategy of, I send my tax collectors out. Like, I declared victory first, and then once they try to retaliate, I actually caused victory.
It's a pretty good strategy if you think about it. So Coral declares the House of Rogvaria. So he declares himself of House Rogvaria, creates a new house, and he rules for exactly a decade.
Nice.
And then he disappears.
I think that might be Rogarvia, maybe?
Rogarvia?
Or
Rogarvia?
Rogarvia?
Rogarvia. We'll go with Rogarvia. Rogarvia. He rules for exactly a decade and then he disappears. But he has like family that he has created of his line at this point.
Well, sure.
So the Rogovarian line rules for exactly 200 years until 4699 AR, and then every single family member disappears in what is called the Vanishing.
What?
So the entire ruling house, every like tangentially related family member, they all vanish in the Vanishing.
Okay, is it like Rapture style where their
that's
shoes
the-
are
Their
still
clothes
there?
and shoes are on the ground. Rapture.
I believe their shoes were taken with them, but like they all just vanish without a trace.
They'll just
Instead of
peace
left
out.
behind, it's left Brevoy.
Oh, nice.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the story ends.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
This is current day. Brevoy is just like, shrug.
Well, that's kind of what it is, yeah. So Isia and then the old sword lords of Brevoy are kind of like left with the pieces of like, well, the people who were ruling us for 200-ish years have all disappeared.
Ugh.
And
Are
so-
we still cool with this whole Brevoy thing, or do we want to go back to being Rostland
Oh.
and Isia?
That's true. Well, and
um,
that's only, you said that was 46.99, so we're like 25 years ago.
Yeah. So it's like there's still there's a couple houses that like want to keep the government together,
Okay.
and so they're still holding on to
Yeah.
centralized control. But everything is like an adventure hook of, well, things might change, things might vanish. The real secret is this is where you play Game of Thrones if you're playing
Oh.
Pathfinder.
Oh.
So it's very much set up as a playground for noble house intrigue.
Okay.
There are 7 noble houses. They all like vie for the throne of Brevoy. They all have underhanded, backhanding like
Yeah.
stabs. They all have armies, and the nation as a whole kind of just exists to be a political intrigue avenue that's not Taldor.
Okay, that's really cool.
I like really want to know, where are the red dragons? Where did they go? Are they chilling out in the canyon?
Yeah, that's also, so I think the main alliance was with Coral and his family. So I think they also kind of
Maybe
are
they
up
all
for
were
grabs. Like they can also be recruited, and like
Hmm.
different draconic factions probably support different houses.
That'd be
Okay,
kinda
so what
cool.
would be cool? Wait, are the do the chromatic dragons also turn into people, or is that only the metallic?
Only the metallics, but also that's going away in the remasters. So it'll be very
Yeah.
interesting to see.
Because the fun story would be they actually are all the red dragons, and they just
Ooh.
decided to
I
stop being
mean-
people anymore, and now they're like, we're gonna go fly around for a bit. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, even like the
Sky's
house
cool.
crest for Brevoy is a red dragon with 2 heads.
Yeah, nice.
So like it's very core to what
Yeah.
their whole thing is.
Hmm.
And it's literally just waiting for, I think there's an adventure path coming here.
Yeah, that makes, I mean,
Because currently they only exist as a tangent to,
Mhm.
River Kingdoms.
well,
or-
not River King, the
and
adventure
Cas-
path, Kingmaker.
Yeah.
It's like things are happening in Brevoy that happen to impact your area. That's kind of all the relevance.
Cool.
Yeah, that would make sense if they touch an adventure there. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it seems ripe for an adventure path.
Nice.
Yeah, I want to know what happened to all the people.
Yeah.
I hope they turned into dragons and just like
Nice.
flew off. That'd be fun.
That's a good idea. So that's Brevoy.
Okay. Brevoy.
Not necessarily evil, but
That's interesting.
interesting. So then we have Razmiran. Razmiran borders Lake and Carthan. It is the kind of southern bit of the Broken Lands, next to the River Kingdoms.
Yes.
I'm not going to talk about the River Kingdoms. I think Sam has the River Kingdoms probably next.
Yeah,
or
we're going
soon.
to talk about River Kingdoms next episode.
So there is a River Kingdom, I will say, called the Archduchy of Melkat.
Nice.
And there's this guy that appears there named Razmir in 4661.
Cool.
So we're going to yada, yada, yada all of the River Kingdoms and just skip straight to 4661.
Well, basically, all you need to know about the River Kingdoms for this contextually is it's a bunch of different kingdoms, and they rise
like-
and fall.
Yeah.
So the Archduchy of
Yes.
Melkat was a river kingdom. They're all separate. They all do their own thing.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah. So Razmir shows up. This very much feels like leader. This whole thing is propaganda. This is like leader propaganda.
Yeah.
So there are many stories of what Razmir was as a child.
No.
Oh.
Some say he was a simple farmer who happened to find a secret library made by the Rune Lords.
Ooh.
Others say he was a sewer rat born in the depths of Opara.
Mm.
No one knows for sure. But
Cool.
what we do know is that he randomly shows up in 4661 AR in Melkat, claiming that he had passed the test of the Starstone and he is a god.
Sure. Sure.
I mean, at least you have like a concrete claim in this world to be like, yes, I'm a god. Why? Because I passed the thing that lets you turn into a god.
Yeah, I mean...
Don't check.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, but you could at least be like, yeah, I passed that test.
And everyone's like, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
He didn't. He is still a really, really strong wizard, though.
Mm-hmm.
An extremely strong wizard. So there's a city called Xer, X-E-R. He walks into a local temple, doesn't specify which deity.
Okay.
But he finds a local magistrate. The magistrate, and I guess he starts like proselytizing or like preaching the word of his godhood.
Have you heard the good word of me?
The good word of Razmir. So this magistrate, this like temple official is like, you arrest this person for blaspheming in my temple.
Yeah.
So Razmir walks up to the magistrate and goes, I like the cut of your jib. You should join my religion.
Oh, sure.
You should join the cult of Razmir. Unsurprisingly, the magistrate refuses. So Razmir turns him into a fox.
Cool.
Sure. Sure. I mean, it could have been worse. He could have, like, smote him or just fireballed him.
Yeah, polymorph is the thing. So he just immediately turns around and polymorphs that magistrate into a fox.
Oh, boy.
Cool.
The city of Xer falls in line.
I do not want to be a fox. Thank you. Okay.
It is funny, just like the show of power that cows a city is like, not like, oh, I burned the palace to the ground. Like, I turned that guy to the fox. And you're like, well, I don't want any of that.
Look,
I don't want no bail.
Kill me, torture me. I don't want to be a fox.
I don't want to be a fox. Have you seen how they scream? I don't want that.
So he then starts walking around, going city to city, going, hello, I am your god Razmir.
Oh, jeez.
Would you like to follow me or be foxes or die?
He's going door to door in his election campaign. Vote for Razmir.
Kind of. Most of the local cities all fall in line. There is the capital, though, of that duchy. The capital's called Erduin.
Sounds right.
Erduin. The ruler, the Duke Melkat, is there, and he refuses to surrender 3 separate times. There's no details on the story, but I imagine like 3 days in a row, Razmir like goes to the mayor's house. You should worship me. And the mayor goes, no.
Go away.
And the second day, you should worship me. And the mayor goes, no. And the third day, you should worship me. And the mayor goes, no. Or the Duke goes, no. So that night, Razmir summons a fire cloud and incinerates the entire city and every inhabitant.
This escalated very quickly from fox people, okay?
Because the fox wasn't enough.
So Erduin ceases to exist. The entire city, all of its inhabitants, all of its buildings, all of its resources are ash.
Oh my gosh.
Yikes.
The rest of the duchy follows and surrenders.
Sure.
So Razmir wins.
I mean, there's a point at which you're like, for all intents and purposes, as a farmer, like, at a certain point, a high-level wizard and a god are probably not that different from you in a power level. Like a level 1, like a level 0 farmer looking at a level 20 wizard versus a god, they're probably like, it doesn't really matter. Like,
yeah, I pay my taxes either way.
Yeah, so like, it is interesting, because I knew coming into this that like Razmir is not actually a god, but like, from a layman's perspective, you're like, well, the difference is not that much because you can burn down a city.
Right.
Like, so.
Right. So Razmir wins. He declares the nation of Razmiran.
Cool.
Sure.
This dude does not have an ego of any kind.
No.
And then he proceeds to spend the next couple decades constantly invading the river kingdoms to the east, expanding his country.
Okay.
So
cool.
3 separate times he keeps invading the river kingdoms, and he keeps gobbling up territory from the river kingdoms. So the river kingdoms are not a fan.
Yeah.
Of Razmir. The Razmiran government is exactly what you think it is. Razmir is a living god. He sits on a throne and runs a theocracy.
Perfect.
Fun facts, though. There are exactly 31 steps up to his throne, indicating the 31 steps that Razmir took to achieve godhood.
Is that actually, are there 31 steps in the Starstone Temple situation?
No one knows.
No one knows.
And also, it's entirely arbitrary.
Okay. He made this up.
Yeah, the Starstone test, the only thing that's known about it is you have to cross a chasm.
Yes.
At the beginning
and once
to
you're
get
in the
into
building,
the temple.
it's like no one knows.
I would like to imagine that the steps are like, step 1, Lie to people.
Step 1,
2.
wake up at 4:30 a.m. Step 2, it's just like
Eat 6 raw eggs.
it's just like the 31 steps to being like a hustle culture person.
Well, we're on steps, so I'll skip ahead a bit. Let's talk about the steps.
Oh, they exist.
The steps are the ranks of his religion, Sam.
Oh.
And so
I would like to eat cereal as my rank.
Every temple of Razmir also has 31 steps up to like the golden, like the symbol of Razmir of that temple.
Okay.
And your rank in the church indicates how many steps close you can get to like the icon of Razmir.
Oh boy.
The highest rank in the church is only 15.
Oh, so you can only get halfway there. He's keeping people at a distance.
So it's not the highest rank anybody's gotten to, it's just the highest rank allowed.
Yeah, that's my understanding at least.
Fair.
So the first step, you're called an acolyte of the first step. You get to wear a white robe and you get to wear an iron mask. The priests of the third step get to wear gray robes and iron masks. The heralds of the 8th step get to wear black robes and iron masks. This one's weird. The mask of the 12th step, you get to wear blue robes and silver masks.
Oh.
And the visions of the 15th step get to wear red robes and gold masks. And those are the functional rulers of the country.
Okay.
So those are like your board of directors or like your cabinet members of the country, are the visions of the 15th step.
Interesting.
Yes. Weird choice of government.
Okay.
Also, Razmir is kind of like going crazy. So he randomly issues edicts and everyone has to follow them. So there's not very good continuity. Tyler, what was like the orchid ether? The orchid potions?
The orchid elixir?
Rumors are he's trying to
Sun
find
orchid
those.
elixir, yeah.
Secretly so that he can keep living forever because he's getting older.
Fair.
Foreign relations. Everyone hates him.
Shocking.
The elves of the Keonan don't like him.
Sure.
The river kingdoms don't like him. The Crusaders don't like him. Numeria doesn't like him. He does have one frenemy. Our best buddy Tarbafon over on Lake Incarthan apparently is neutral with him.
Oh.
And if you want to talk about like power levels, I really love this. So Tarbafon, we'll talk about him, but he eventually ends up in Lake Incarthan. He's a really strong lich. Razmir sends an envoy and is like, hey, if you don't mess with me, I won't mess with you. This envoy returns, turned into a white.
Oh.
And apparently the deal is Razmiran has to give Tarbafon thousands of dead bodies to turn into zombies, and then Tarbafon won't mess with him.
Oh
my God. I do love that. Just as a, I won't mess with you, basically a deity. And you don't mess with me, not a deity.
Are they functionally the same level?
No.
No, they're very
So I think
different.
Razmir, I can look him up, but I think he's like level 20 wizard.
Okay.
Tarbafon has
Extra
mythic
stuff.
ranks are coming back, but like he is way past level 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
So apparently it's also a thing in the religion of Razmir now to like not touch the dead. Like you don't go visit the graveyards, you don't go visit the crypts. Which is very convenient because apparently he's raiding all of the crypts and graveyards for dead bodies to send to.
Oh no!
Yikes.
And then also supposedly his prison camps. He has prison camps, by the way.
Oh wow!
Sure.
His prison work camps are kind of empty, with again the thought that he's sending them all to Tarbafon to turn them into to undead.
Oh, not great.
Yikes.
Yeah. So pretty cool in general. Like to gain ranks in the church, it has nothing to do with piety. You just need to go take territory.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to gain ranks, you got to go like claim, plant flags, kill people,
Sure.
cool things that churches do.
Yeah.
Oh, and their central creed, we can finish with this. The central creed of the religion of Razmir. Life is about the acquisition of golden power. People who follow Razmir are good and should enjoy life. Everyone else is a heretic and should be killed or work for Razmir.
Oh my goodness. Whoa.
Cool. Okay. Bold.
And that is Razmiran.
Yay.
They still exist. They're hanging out, trying to grow their kingdom.
Okay.
I have no words.
No words. Nope.
So I don't know. I don't have anything else to say.
Huh.
Just 2 countries doing stuff. saying things, having rulers.
This
A
has
bit of
been
a potpourri.
I like it.
Well, anyway, that has been Brevoy and Razmiran.
Yay!
And while we all collect our thoughts and reevaluate our life choices, we will head out for a ad break, and we will be back.
You aspire. You dream. You work towards that dream to make it your reality. You think you've reached your best, but there is always better. In the end, it's all worth fighting for. That's what makes you the champion. Faith in Razmir fuels champions. The Church of Razmir. Join now, or get turned into a fox or a pile of ash.
Razmir is my partner in daily life. Faith in Razmir is the peak of high performance. Razmir helps me to be my best. Razmir gives me what my body and soul need. To be the best, I only trust Razmir. I am a herald of the 8th step. I am a follower of Razmir. And thank you to our sponsors for this episode. We do not encourage anyone to use those things.
Nope, don't do that.
We'll take your money. Don't join in.
All right, so we are going to move into our campaigns and characters section. And for these lovely countries this week, Tyler will be helping us out with a campaign.
Yes. So when I was doing this campaign, I knew nothing about Brevoy, so I just skipped past it and went to Razmiran because I didn't want to research too much, knowing that there wasn't a lot to talk about. So this campaign is going to be in Razmiran, and it's going to be more of an infiltration campaign. So there's a lot of RP, and if there's combat, it's more of a last resort, kind of a la Metal Gear Solid, where you're like stealthing around.
Okay.
And then if you need to take some people out, you can, but like that's not going to be the main focus. So the players are part of an organization, maybe Pathfinder Society, that might kind of make sense, or maybe Firebrands because they like freedom and whatnot. So I was seeing if there were any people that hate Razmiran, but apparently everybody does, so it kind of works out.
It could be Keonan.
Yeah, it could be Elves of
people
Keonan.
north.
Yeah, so anyway, let's say Firebrands, sure.
Yeah.
There have been some conflicts with the group in the past, between that and Razmir, obviously. So recently, the members of your organization have been disappearing in and around Razmiran. We've sent some spies in, they've gone missing. There have been people in and around that area, they've gone missing. Like, basically, people of your organization have just gone missing. So the players' goals are to go in posing as followers of Razmir and to try to get to the bottom of what's happening where the hostages are. So my inspiration for this, and kind of how I'd play this as the GM, is in Avatar: The Last Airbender, you have the episodes of Ba Sing Se. If you haven't seen the show, you're really missing out because that show is fantastic. But at one point, they're trying to get allies for a war against the Fire Nation, and so they go to Ba Sing Se, which is just a walled Earth Kingdom city, and they go in and they're like, "Yeah, we need to go talk. Like, we need to go get allies and talk to the king about this war." And the attendants are like, "There is no war in Ba Sing Se," and it's all very creepy. Of like, it seems all very normal in life, and everyone's like very happy, and they're like, "There's an existential war happening outside," and they're like, "No, there's not. There is no war. Like, what are you talking about?" And so I really love that episode because it's just really interesting. But I think it'd be really cool for the players to kind of come in and just, you kind of know a little bit about Razmir and how it's like, it's kind of a cult, you know, that going in to some extent, but just kind of like seeing the normal life of Razmiran, but then like have the little bits of like creepy people in the secret, like, you know, levels, the 31 steps people showing up. So you're like trying to infiltrate into this upper echelon to like find out where your organization hostages are
the players are like, why doesn't anyone use more of the steps?
Yes. Yeah. So it would be kind of cool. Maybe like you try to climb the steps. I don't know if you're just like taking land. Part of it would be like.
Yeah. Again, it's a very weird.
Yeah.
Very weird place.
But then I would also give all of the players the feat Deceptive Worship, which is a feat that kind of lets you act like a follower of a different god. So I'd let them do that so they can, blend in more with the Razmirans. I don't know what people of Razmir
It's all kind
are
of
called.
synonymous is the weird thing.
So, yeah, that's my campaign. There are no hostages in Razmiran. When everybody's asking about it, there are no hostages in Razmiran. Everybody is happy here. Have you heard about our 31 steps?
This sounds
Join
very
us.
creepy and cool.
Follow Razmir.
All right, well, I brought a character which actually I think is going to fit in very well, and parts of the backstory that I left a little bit open-ended, I think could easily slide into this campaign.
Okay.
So my character, his name is Merrick. He's a young dude, like maybe 20, 21, and he's a human summoner. And he has an undead eidolon named Winston, or Uncle Win, because I was inspired and built them like Zuko and Uncle Ira.
Oh my gosh! Amazing!
Sam told me this. And she's like, Uncle Ira. I'm like, I'm not saying anything.
Amazing!
So I
guys
did
watching Avatar
No.
recently?
No! We had this conversation this week, though, that all of our jokes are the same and all of our references are the same, so we've hit that level of marriage, so I'm not very surprised.
This is our 10-year anniversary year, so once you hit 10 years, apparently you just have the same
brain.
jokes and same references.
At least we still find them entertaining.
That's awesome.
But anyway, so Merrick, his background is a detective, and he's a little angsty. He's very much got the, like, I have to find who murdered my parents vibe.
Sure. Where are they?
Right?
I have to find the avatar.
Well, so where I was like, things that I picked up as we were talking about this that I think would be fun to work in. So when you have like summoners and eidolons with the undead eidolon, they're like tied to the person or the place. They're like an amalgamation of like their experiences and the person's experiences. So I think this spirit of Uncle Win was maybe someone that was killed by Razmiran or was like prison campy.
Sure.
Like, so some spirit that is tied to this area that. Yeah. And then I don't know, maybe Merrick has a relative who is a hostage, or maybe his parents were nuked in Razmiran somewhere. I don't know.
I feel like you could almost do like Uncle Win is the person who died in Razmir at some point and like is stuck there, and then the parents are some of the hostages. So it's not necessarily like who killed my parents. It's like, I need to find my parents.
Where are they?
Where are they? Where's Rachel?
I love it.
Nice.
So I think that'd be really fun. And I've never actually built a summoner before. That's not a class I typically look into, but that was my random pull. So I did have fun learning a little bit about that and the things that you need for those.
Would you, obviously as the summoner, you kind of control your eidolon in combat and whatnot, but as like a personality, would you try to control Uncle Win, or would you want like the GM to control Uncle Win as like nuggets of advice?
I think we could function it like both ways, because I think there should be things that like Merrick would not know, because the undead eidolons as spirits can still retain some information. So I think in some situations like I would control it, but then also I would give the GM free reign to like pop in nuggets of information that me as Merrick would not have.
I think that's really cool.
This is so cool. Tyler, do you can steal my boat from when you guys were looking for boats in the previous campaign.
Oh.
So the players were in a port and they were looking for safe passage.
Oh my gosh.
And I offered a few different boats, and one of them was like a temple boat staffed entirely by priests of Razmir.
That was so creepy. Yeah, because we were going through Lake in Carthen, because we're playing through kind of like a modified Tyrant's Graph, so like Isle of Terror has not become the Tarbafon area yet. So yeah, it was like we just noped away from Razmir and we were like, you guys are creepy. No.
Yeah, it was like, you see a boat. There are 35 individuals all wearing the same mask and same cloak on the edge of the boat staring at you. Would you like to talk to them?
Nope. Would not.
You just walked, looked, take one look, hard pass, moving on.
But that was this section with them making a deal. That was what inspired me, of them having a boat there, of like, they probably know how to get there.
Yeah.
They probably know. Nice.
This
No,
is great.
I like this. This would be a fun campaign.
All right, well, we have a campaign, we have a character, we have some places. All that is left is now to give a score to these fabulous
Which one do you want to do
areas.
first?
Okay,
Can we
so
do the easy one or the hard one? Because I feel like one of these is way easier.
I can only think of scoring for Razmiran. I'm struggling to think of a scoring. Well, no, okay. So Brevoy, we do red dragons.
Yeah, Brevoy, red dragons.
All right, so let's start with Brevoy.
Okay.
1 out of 10 red dragons. 1 is bad. 10 is excellent.
Like current day,
Yeah,
the fact that
we-
it's like
we
on the
always do current
yeah.
day.
I mean, current day, it feels like it's on the brink of collapse. So I don't think it'd be great to go. Like, it doesn't feel like it would be. It feels like one of those middle of grounds. Like you're probably not going to die.
Yeah.
But like, I just don't know what all there is to see.
I mean, would you want to go visit Westeros for the first episode of Game of Thrones? Like, you know that there's political intrigue, you know there's backstabbing, you know there's armies, like, you know all that already exists.
Well, there are certain places in Westeros that I would go, sure, because the families that rule those places are not nuts
Right.
or have stuff going on.
Right.
So I feel like it's not like a total bottom
No,
of the barrel,
No.
but I still feel like it's maybe a 3 because I don't also know what's interesting
I feel like
there
I put
either.
this
A 4?
3 or 4.
I was going to go 4 or 5. So
Yeah, I think a 4
feels
would be
like
good.
An okay.
Yeah, it's like, because we did 3 of Numeria.
I think it's better than Numeria.
It's better than Numeria, but like slightly. It's like better from a safety perspective, but not.
But there's not anything that I want to see
yeah,
there,
not
whereas
good
like
enough
Numeria has cool tech.
Yeah. So it's like you gain some safety, you lose some interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think 4 out of 5 red dragons for Brevoy is good.
Okay.
Okay,
4,
Rez.
4 out of 10.
4 out of 10.
10.
Sorry, 4 out of 10 red dragons. My bad. Not 4 out of 5. So Razmiran, are we doing masks?
Yes.
Steps.
Ooh, 1 out of 10 steps. Yes.
Yes. Excellent.
So 1 to 10 steps.
I mean, 0 or 1, right?
I'm going
this is
a
not
1.
a place you want to go.
I didn't think that we could do 0 as a score, so I'm going to say a 1.
We can do 1.
Okay.
We gave
Galt a 0.
I don't know. I feel like I'd give it a 0.
I say 0 is viable. 0 is allowed. 0 to 10 steps.
That means technically we have 11 rankings, but it's fine. Okay. All right. I'm good for 0. Do not want to go. Nope.
Yeah, there's
Hard
like
pass.
nothing here that is going to end well for you.
Go to the River Kingdoms.
Yeah. Or like go to Druma.
Go to
I don't know.
Druma. Go to Keonan. Keonan's
Yeah,
right to the
like,
south.
Well, yeah, it's like, oh, you want gold and money and power. You know what else wants that? Druma, but they're like not freaking weird. Go.
They just wear gloves. Like, that's
yeah,
the only weird thing they
wear
do.
Gloves. 0 to 10 steps for Razmiran.
Yeah, hard no. Hard pass. I would rather go to Nidal than I would go here.
I'd rather go to neither.
I mean, neither, for sure. But I feel like if you were going to go to Nidal, there's like a chance you could have some sort of diplomatic immunity and like
That's true.
get in and out for a day. Razmir would just be like, hello, welcome to Razmir. You live in Razmir now.
That's true. Yeah. Nidal would be like, hey, do you want to come to our Whips and Chains place? And you'd be like, no, thanks. And they're like, you'll be back.
We don't need to convince you. You'll be back.
We don't need to convince you.
I just wanted to look at the library.
That's what everyone starts as. We know. Cool. 0 to 10 steps and 4 to 10 red dragons.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Ryan.
Of course.
For this lovely tour of some random places in the Broken Lands. We will be back at our next country stop with the rest of the River Kingdoms, which will also be a lot of random things. So I think we'll have a great time. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you want to check out our Patreon again, you can do that. Tabletop Travel Guide Podcast, link in the show notes and the website. Feel free to reach out to us via email, tabletoptravelguidepodcast@gmail.com. We really love feedback or hearing what you guys are excited about or interested in.
Listener survey is still going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we've gotten some like good feedback. So we'll
Let us know if there's anything specific that you want us to explore in our Tabletop Finds episodes. We've been having a great time with that, but there's tons of content. So if there's anything that you're super excited about, we would love to explore it for you.
One more thing, if you go to our Patreon, for anybody who is going to be a surveyor or above, so the $2 tier, we're putting out a Q1 listener poll of what organization you want us to do a deep dive in. So we'll do a listener voted on organization deep dive based on the poll numbers. So if you want to go check that out, it's on our Patreon.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for listening this week. We will see you all next week. And until then, happy travels.